Moving on. Not so exciting news, but a lot to take from this fight. Denis Silva versus George Sotiropoulos. I was hanging out with Eddie and George at the weigh-ins. The weight cut for Denis Silva was super tough. He didn't make the weight initially, and then came back and made the weight after that. So it was, interesting. George made the weight, of course. Speaking to him, he was very confident as he was recovering from the weight cut. We had a chance to talk. He was very confident going into the fight. He'd done everything he needed to do. Eddie was confident going into the fight. The fight went 3 rounds. The first round, Denis Silva, man, his left hand, it was so fast. He tagged George with a crushing left hook, dropped him. He got up, recovered amazingly, got dropped again. With 3 minutes left, getting dropped twice by Denis Silva, he's probably the best, got the best Muay Thai, the best kickboxing in the lightweight division. And he could smell blood. He was out for the finish, couldn't put George away. Amazingly, George was able to get to the break of the first round, shake it off, come back in the second round, started looking really good, got some more head movement, started mixing it up a little bit, but just could not get the takedown on Denis. Tagged him a few times, just showed great heart, great chin, great desire. I mean, the guy's a stud, no doubt about it. Third round, looked good too, hung in there, got tagged a few more times, tagged Silva as well. Fought hard, just couldn't get Silva to the ground. So there's no doubt that George is going to be working hard on his wrestling. I'm sure he'll be back stronger than ever. Of course, he lost a unanimous decision to Denis Silva. Denis moves on. Denis is a really good striker. That left leg was amazing. His left leg was so good, bringing it from the legs up high. Hearing the post-fight interview with George, Joe asked him, how Denis felt to him, and he said that he felt enormously strong. He felt very, very strong, very tough to take down. He just wasn't able to get him to the ground. It was tough. He was really slippery after the first round due to sweat, etc. So it was very, very difficult for George to take him down. But, commiserations to George. He fought a hard fight. He showed a lot of heart and toughness, and I'm sure he'll come back better and stronger than ever, taking a lot from this fight. So congratulations, obviously, to Denis Silva, but also George Sotiropoulos, man, the guy's a stud, and I can't wait to see him fight again. He's 8-1 now in the UFC. It's still a great record, so I'm looking forward to seeing him fight again. Obviously, Michael Bisping, Jorge Rivera, interesting. At the weigh-ins backstage, these guys were... I was speaking to Michael Bisping backstage about it. He felt really strong coming in this fight. He felt that his striking is at its peak, and we've seen this coming into the last few fights, heading into this one. He loves to stand and bang. He was very suspect on that left flank, meaning that overhand right has been posing a problem in his career, and we were waiting to see whether Rivera was going to do that. And Jorge Rivera is known for his power punching, his knockout power, knocking out 2 of his last 3 opponents coming into this fight. Obviously, the weigh-ins, everybody saw what happened. There was a lot of tension, a lot of emotion in that fight. Bisping thought that Rivera was really, saying some derogatory things towards him, etc. And that's where the trash talking began. And let me tell you, Michael Bisping was in Rivera's face. And watching him backstage coming out second when Joe Rogan announced Rivera going to make weight first, and let me tell you, when they got the stare down happening, it was on, and it showed in that fight. There was an illegal knee. Oh man, that was a bad illegal knee. Bisping in that round had a point deducted. It was, I hate to say it, but almost looked blatant. But he had his head. He kind of almost looked like he thought about it for a second, and then he just jammed that knee in. Lucky it wasn't a DQ. I don't know how it wasn't a DQ. Rivera, I don't know whether he wanted to continue on from there. He looked pretty dazed. I don't know whether he was milking it a little bit or not. Hard to tell from where I was watching from, but he recovered. He wanted to fight on. Props to him. That was mad for him to be able to come back after a crushing knee to the head like that. And then from then on, it was on. As soon as Jorge got back into the swing of things, it didn't look like he was too rattled. He looked like he was on good legs. And Bisping just started tagging him and catching him after the break in the second round. And he was just just smashing Rivera. And you know what? Bisping could have taken him down and continued to ground and pound, but he just was happy to have him against the fence and then just slam away and put him away. And he was landing some vicious shots at the end of that fight. And at the end, of course, everybody knows, he spat at Jorge Rivera's corner for what they were saying, because they were getting involved, which I think is wrong. If the guys have got their differences, let them sort it out and let them sort it out in the cage. But for the cornerman, if it was true that they had said some derogatory things to Bisping, then, you know, I'm not saying that I'm condoning that kind of behaviour, but I guess, you know, Bisping, he's very emotional, wears his heart on his sleeve, he's a proud dude, and, you know, he won that fight. In the end, you know, he was apologising and he won an apology, and that was fair enough. In the end, I think it was amicable. So, Michael Bisping moves on again. Interesting to see. I heard that Vitor Belfort has called out Michael Bisping. I don't know whether you heard about that, but Vitor Belfort has called out Michael Bisping, so let's see what happens with that. That's a fight I want to see. Absolutely. I wonder if he'll try open up with a front kick, though. We'll see what happens. Fight, main event, BJ Penn versus John Fitch. I spoke to BJ Penn at the weigh-ins at length about his career, etc. It was an absolute honour to meet him. It was an honour to meet Michael Bisping, all the fighters. It was an absolutely amazing experience for me. But BJ Penn, speaking to him, man, he is so small. People don't understand. He's held a title in 2 weight classes. That's unbelievable. You know, he weighed in with his jeans. It was hilarious, in his shoes. Did anyone see the weigh-ins? Did anyone see the weigh-ins with BJ Penn? Just on there with his age, he's on there with his jeans and his shoes. It was hilarious, and he's still 1 pound under the limit. It was hilarious. Just goes to show you how small he is. He's not much bigger than me. I'm only 164. I'm 164 centimeters, 5'4", 164, I think it is. And I think he's the same height as I am. He's just little. John Fitch, man, he's a big dude, and you can see that. And John Fitch came back after the weight cut, and he was obviously way bigger than BJ Penn. Look, at the start, to see BJ Penn come out, touch gloves, throw a jab and pin him up against the fence was something that John Fitch didn't plan on happening. And BJ Penn was doing that, tried to get the takedown a few times, did real well. You know, I thought he'd come out striking more, and he didn't, which really threw John Fitch off, as I mentioned. And that looked good for a couple of rounds until John Fitch started to get his measure, and then in that 3rd round, man, I fell for BJ Penn. Just goes to show you that, you know, fighting off your back is so important, and someone as good as BJ Penn was still stuck against the fence with John Fitch just doing what he does best, getting you down and grounding you out. And obviously, you know, it was a draw in the end. Surprisingly, BJ Penn was interviewed by Joe Rogan at the end of that, and he said, "Were you surprised with the decision?" And he said, "Yes, I was." Did you think that he would have won that fight after what happened? He said, yes, he thought he did. So to come out with a draw, Fitch was obviously pissed. I mean, that's obvious. But BJ Penn, you know, he wasn't happy either what happened. But hey, it's a draw. And, you know, no one wins, no one loses. Whether we want to see a Fitch Penn 2, I don't know. Maybe it'll happen. I want to see BJ Penn fight anytime. I want to see John Fitch fight anytime. I love those guys. BJ Penn's my all-time hero in MMA. So to see him there, to meet him, to see him go through what he did, to have a really sneaky game plan was great to see him change it up. But for it to be a draw in the end, you know, Fitch, I guess he wasn't too happy with that. So in the end, John Fitch, BJ Penn, a draw. You know, make your own mind up on that one. Overall card, I thought it was a great card. I thought it was a great showing. I thought the fans were crazy. At the weigh-ins, there was like 10,000 screaming fans. It was amazing to see people at the weigh-ins. If I saw you there and you came out and said hello, thank you for doing that. That was awesome to see you guys there. With Eddie. And also I had a great opportunity to hang out with George Soropoulos on this trip. And also Leonard Gabriel Jr., who is the Fisticuffs gym owner and George's striking coach. I interviewed him, so check that out on my YouTube channel. I don't know what else to say. To bump into the boys again, to see all these greats was just absolutely fantastic. Again, Kyle Noak, fantastic. Parash, fantastic. You know, George Soropoulos, his performance fantastic, although it wasn't the result we were after, but great result, no matter what. He's going to come back stronger than ever, and congratulations on all the winners as well. So this is Frank Barca signing off for Fight Fix, UFC 127.